hosted by Gene Adrienne, here on New Earth International.
And we're live with Gene Adrienne.
Hello, and welcome to this morning's edition of Power Talk. I'm Gene Adrienne. I'm your host, and every week I bring you cutting-edge information to help you make choices and raise your vibration, because together we're creating a brand new reality. I invite you to visit my website, geneadrienne.com. And while you're there, if you haven't already signed up for my newsletter, please do so. And then I will send you a gift, and that gift is going to be your own subscription for free to the online version of my Inner Speak cards. You know, these are the cards that I created to help you to clear away karmic and ancestral blocks, and you can use those cards for free as long as you desire. If you don't like my newsletter, feel free to opt out at any time and still keep on using my cards, just because I love you and it's for you to clear away your blocks. Also, this last month, I have debuted a new workshop, and you can still join it. The workshop is called Reconnecting Soul, 142 DNA activations. It's all about unlocking the power of your DNA to be all that you can be in your life. The cost of the workshop is $144. We have had 3 classes so far. The 4th class will be this Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And all of the classes are done on Zoom, just like this, and they're all recorded. So if you go on my website to the class page and sign up, I will send you the link for the first 3 weeks. And then you can join us live this week on Wednesday. We do about between 10 and 15 activations each week, depending on how full people get. You know, I don't want to put anybody into overload. So you can find out more on my website, geneadrienne.com/class. But let's dive right into today's topic. And my guest today is Ronelle Wood. And she's gifted in her chosen field of myofascial release. She's a writer, a teacher, a mentor, and a public speaker. Once she was a speech pathologist, and now she's a respected authority on fascia and healing. You know, like all of us, it was through her own traumas and injury that caused her to find a solution to seek authentic healing. And what she didn't find in therapy and prescription drugs and surgery, she did find through myofascial release and true physical alignment during movement. And she created a tool that she calls True Body TM. And since 2008, people have been coming from all over the world to her headquarters in Ojai, California, which she calls the Sanctuary. And they receive a combination of myofascial release and other therapies. And she's just written a book, which is a pretty amazing book. It's called Touching Light, How to Heal Your Fiber Optic Fascia. Her website is www.ohmsanctuary.com. That's ohmsanctuary.com. So welcome, Ronelle.
Hi.
We're so glad to have you here on Power Talk. And, you know, you have a book about a topic that is really up in the forefront of myself right now. And it's about the issues in the tissues and myofascial release. So let's start off at the base level, because I bet you there are people out here that are listening to the show that have no clue what fascia is. So what is it? Why should we care about it?
Fascia is connective tissue, and it is in the forefront of the study of the body right now. They've done 4 myofascial conferences in Washington, D.C., because the medical community is now beginning to understand that there is an aspect of our body that they used to write off and consider as packing material. They would do surgery on a body, and they would see this tissue just beneath the skin that was white. And if you have the stomach for it, and you've ever watched a knee surgery, for example, the first scalpel swipe is into that fascia before any blood shows up. And they just scrape away and scrape away and scrape away until they get to muscle. And afterwards, that forms a scar. And they just thought, okay, that's all there is to that, without knowing that the fascial tissue has more function than just connectivity. And we found that out about 6 years ago when Dr. Jean-Claude Gambarteau, he was a French hand surgeon, took his fiber optic surgical tools and videotaped living fascia inside a human and magnified it 25 times. And what he saw was so different than what we had been used to looking at on cadavers. It's a completely different appearing tissue in a cadaver. And we began to see that these little fibers, when magnified, show up as hollow, transparent tubules that contain ground substance, which is like a saline solution. And when you realize what you're looking at, you see that these little tubules are fiber optic. And that's really exciting because they conduct light throughout the body, and we know light carries information. And neuroscientists are studying the role of fascia in consciousness. They think that this may be the mechanism by which consciousness moves throughout our body through light. And to answer the question, where is fascia? It's everywhere. It's like, and the best analogy I can come up with is for you to imagine an orange without its peel. It still holds its shape because there's that superficial white pith around it. And we have that. We have a superficial layer of fascia just underneath the skin that surrounds and connects everything. So without our skin, it doesn't all just fall down around our ankles. But you can take a section out of the orange and it has its own container, just like we have our own container around muscle and organ. There's a fascial sheath around that. And you can open a section of the orange and see that it has pulp inside, and each little piece of pulp has its own surrounding connective tissue. And we are like that, all the way down to muscle spindle and organelle, and all the way down to bone. And bone is just mineralized fascia. So we, when we're working with a body, are addressing the superficial layer, but we are accessing every single fiber inside you. Wherever I'm working, you may feel far distant reaction in your body. I'm pulling on your arm and you get itchy in your right pinky toe. And it's not your imagination and it's not coincidence. It's information for me as the therapist about where your fascial restrictions may be connected in your body. And that's very exciting to me.
Yeah, it's very exciting to me too. Now, how is the work you do different from Rolfing?
Well, Rolfing had the right idea. They knew that fascia was a thing, and that it was their job to invite it to stop strangling the body from the inside. And I'll talk about why it does that in a moment. But their approach was with force. So the therapist would push and tell you that you needed to just breathe through any pain that you were experiencing. And many people receiving myofascial, or rather Rolfing, would approach their treatment with bracing because they remembered the pain from before. And through the John Barnes myofascial approach, we find that if we wait for permission from the body, we get much deeper release into the layers that are beneath that superficial layer, and that the results are more long-lasting to interrupt those patterns of strangulation going on inside.
So it really has a lot to do with surrender then, doesn't it?
So much. When I become a therapist, I think I'm going to help all of these people. I am standing, you are lying down. I must have all the answers because I'm the therapist. And then you get in there and you are just so moved by how profound the experience is when this person on the table trusts you that much that they allow you to pass that personal space barrier, and your, as you have said, vibration begins to harmonize with their vibration. And people often ask me, how did you get so good at this? And I have a twofold answer. One is by doing it a lot. And the other is by getting hurt a lot. And I needed the treatment. So in the receiving of it, I really got a taste of what it is people are experiencing when they are on the table. And I continue to get treatment so that I know what that feels like. And then I think I'm gifted at it. And I say that because I felt that way about speech pathology too. When people would say, "What are you studying?" I'd say, speech pathology, thinking anybody could do it. And I think that is often the clue to what your gift is. When you think it's like, oh, that's so easy. And that's how I feel about myofascial release. Once I've put my hands on someone, that body just starts talking to me. And to me, it feels like I've been given a tube of toothpaste and there are shapes inside, and I'm supposed to figure out what those shapes are. So I'm using my hands and I'm feeling along and I'm thinking, oh, I found something here. And then I just start working on that. Here comes the sun.
Sounds like a Beatles song to me. So many years ago, I went to someone I bought a package of 10 sessions of Rolfing. I suffered through 9 of them, and the pain was so exquisite in the 9th session when she was working inside my mouth that I never went back for the 10th, which was hands and feet, which I think I probably would have really enjoyed. But I couldn't deal with the pain. I would come home from the Rolfing sessions, and the next day I would be covered in bruises. But I understood, and I still to this day understand, how fascia does somehow store wounds. And I'm not talking, I think the wounds that I have are not necessarily physical wounds. I think they're emotional wounds. And mine primarily seem to be centered in the IT bands. And the problem that I have is around my knees. I don't have actual pain in my knees, but the muscles in my legs don't support my knees properly. So therefore it makes it sometimes hard for me to walk. Do you have
heavens
thoughts on that?
Yes, I do.
Thought you might.
One of the things that I find is important to explain to someone is if a doctor has told you it's all in your head, that's true, and in your knees and in your elbows, and it is this connective tissue that connects all of those things. And I have never encountered anyone as a client who didn't have an emotional component to their physical pain, because how can you not? It either started from an emotional source, or once you've had the pain for a long time, you feel something about that. Frustration or a feeling of, I'm a good person, why is this happening to me? Or I can't stand this anymore. So that's where I introduce the concept that the fascia is not just connective, it is protective as well. And it is part of your autonomic nervous system, not something you have conscious control of. It squeezes you when you get scared. So if right now somebody were to drop a book flat on the floor and make a big sound, your fascia would react to that. And it doesn't matter how much yoga you do or how much meditating you do. You will never overcome that automatic response. It's always going to be a part of you. But if you don't know that after that happens, your body has some truth to tell about the adrenaline shot that it got, you are walking around with a freeze response in your body. So oftentimes our reaction to fear is we lift our shoulders, we curl inward, we bring our arms up, and many times we tell our body, don't be ridiculous, Ronelle, somebody just dropped a book. Don't punch someone or bite someone or run screaming. That's cave woman behavior. And so we tell our body, not now. And we override that adrenaline impulse to go, ah! And we're walking around dignified. and appropriate, and conducting ourselves in a way that is acceptable. And we hide a lot of those reactions. Now, this is not to say that I am asking you to have those wild reactions, because if you're driving a car and somebody pulls out in front of you and you get that shot of adrenaline, you can't have that wild reaction. You have to have the skill to override it. But I am saying that you need a SNIT fitness program. And by that I mean, if you can excuse yourself from public scrutiny, go into your bedroom, lie on your bed, and pound the mattress with your fists and your heels and maybe scream into a pillow, it is a biological need of your body to let go of that freeze response, because what happens in that moment is that your fascia contracts around every muscle in your body, and it gets you ready to spring into action. The biological purpose is to slow down your blood so that if you get hurt in a conflict, you won't bleed too much. And it squeezes your nerves so you won't feel it right away. And other people report, and you may have had this experience of being in a fight or a car accident, and you get out of the car and you say, okay, I'm fine, I'm checking my body, I feel fine. And weeks and months down the road, you get aches and pains, you have no idea where they came from, and sometimes bruises that you can't even guess at how it came onto your body, because in that moment you were in fight or flight mode, your fascia was tight, you were being impacted, and your body helped you survive. So it's a wonderful mechanism you never want to overcome. But if you know that that is a response in your body, you can give it permission later to tell the truth about how it felt in that moment and empty out the storage tank of your body that has been holding on to this response for you and needs an opportunity to let go. When you let go, what happens is that saran wrap around your muscle eases and softens, and the lactic acid and uric acid and adrenaline that was trapped between the layer of fascia and muscle is swept away into your bloodstream. Yay, you're cleaning out, that's wonderful. However, it's in your bloodstream, and it can trigger the response to that encapsulated cocktail of chemistry. It's the same feeling you had in that moment of terror. And that's why sometimes on the table, people can feel anger, rage, grief. They may laugh uproariously as their body chemistry is being influenced by what's being let go of. And as a therapist, I get to reassure you that this isn't you going crazy, that this is your body emptying out and leaking something that you want to be gone, and you don't have to analyze what it is you're feeling. This is about that time I wanted that red wagon and I didn't get it and I was so upset. It doesn't need analysis, it just needs expression. So one of the adages is you can't heal what you don't feel. And that's both physical and emotional. And I'm thinking about your knees. And if someone were there to gently take you into where you feel it and allow you to empty, it can be the very thing you've been trying your whole life not to feel. But knowing that it is just a physical emptying out can help you have permission to be what I call sometimes pathetic. The last thing we want to be, politically incorrect, and say things like, I'm so tired, I've worked so hard for so long, this isn't fair. And that is an expression physically of what you may be holding on to. And if I were to see you as a client, I would get a history of your accidents and surgeries to get a picture of how these knees have supported you and the hard work that they've done to help you survive, and it's worked. And then on the table, we would let these knees know we're so sorry that you're hurting, and we're here now and we're listening. What do you need to tell us? And allow you to feel an appreciation and gratitude for them, and that you're not mad at them, and that you're bringing them the best you know how to be able to let go and see where that takes us. And I'm telling you, people have these little storms of emotion blow through in 10 minutes, and a release of something that's been bothering them for 30 years.
So I know everybody's different, and this is probably not a fair question to ask, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So how many times do you have to get treatment in order to generally to be able to see some sort of result?
Not only is that a fair question, it is what's foremost on everyone's mind when they come in for treatment. They want to know, how much is it going to cost? How many treatments am I going to need to have? And what guarantee is there that it'll be a long-term relief? And I love answering that question. You're not going to like the answer, but maybe you are. It depends.
I knew that was coming.
So for young folks and animals, they have held on to less, and it's easier for them to let go. And there are some folks who are in their 80s and 90s who haven't held on to a lot, and they find it easy to let go. But then there are people like myself who had a lot to lose by letting go, losing dignity, appearing crazy, telling a family secret that was too heavy, and not wanting to be associated with the problems my family had by talking about them, and feeling in some ways, when I was little, I knew if I told what was going on, I would be in big trouble, and my parents would be in trouble. So there can be a real clench from inside in a subconscious emotional way that causes a person to take a lot longer to let go, rather, and sometimes they never do. So there's no judgment about that. If they do let go, hallelujah. If they don't, they're not wrong. Yeah. And people don't like to be wrong. It feels so good for them to be on the table, accepted at whatever pace or level they are, knowing there's no pressure, because pressure with the fascia just creates more tightness. Here's how I set it up. I tell people, if you get as many treatments as possible, as close together, I want to get you in and get you out. I'm not like a chiropractor who says, oh, you're going to need to see me every week for the rest of your life. And I'll say, we will offer you a package of 5. The 5th one will be free. You schedule them all now. You pay for them all now. You've got skin in the game. When it gets rough in the middle during the healing crisis, when things are all stirred up and it feels like this is what I've been trying my whole life not to feel. Why would I do this? I think it's getting worse. Stick with it. Let me get back in there again and get you through that. If you leave at that point, you just put it off until later, and you suffer longer with this low grade going on inside. And if you get the treatments close together and you keep all of them and you go through that healing crisis, 5 is a pretty good measure of what it's going to do in your body. And then if a person wants a longer experience, then we sell packages of more so that it's more affordable. And there's something called an intensive, when you really know that what you got, you want to get through and just roto-rooter, not in a painful way. And we'll do 3 treatments a day, 3 days in a row, and it's awesome.
And how much are the treatments on average?
It depends, again. But where I live, the prices are high. I live in Ojai, California. Where other therapists live that I know of in Denver and Sedona and back east, It can be 90 a treatment.
Mhm.
For folks who come to see me, that would be an hour session. It's 190 for an hour session. And so it becomes really important to people that they get that discount and go for the package and get the skin in the game.
Gotcha. So people can contact you off of your website, which is omsanctuary.com.
Exactly.
And-
www.ohmsanctuary.com.
And tell us about your book and how can they get your book?
The book is available on Amazon.com, and that's as easy as it gets. It's called Touching Light, How to Free Your Fiber Optic Fascia. And in the book, I include little QR codes, quick response codes, those little black squares. And you can hover your phone over those with a QR reader, which is a free app. And it will take you to various illustrations. One of my favorite is my YouTube video that's 1 minute, 20 seconds. And if you watch that, you can get a really great idea of what living fascia looks like. So when you're receiving your treatment, you can really be a partner in understanding why we will put our hands on you and hang out. I've had clients say to me, when are you going to start? We're waiting for that fascial layer.
Oh dear, I think we may have lost you. You've hung up. So listeners, her book is called Touching Light, How to Heal Your Fiber Optic Fascia. I think that Ronelle's internet connection may have gone south on us. So I'm Adrienne, and I wanted to also share with you that next week I'm going to have an amazing and very gifted medical intuitive as my guest. Her name is Nicole Myers Henderson. She has a new book out called On Sacred Time. But get this and prepare yourself for this one. She is going to be offering free medical intuitive readings live on the air. So that's next Monday, 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Join us. And until next time, remember, people who take responsibility for their lives create the reality they desire. Love you all. Ciao.